Welcome to I Said What I Said, a sports podcast giving you opinions and not heard anywhere else. I'm your host, Brad Wakai, alongside my co-host, Tyson Gentry. And Tyson, we're back in the saddle again, man. It's been a little bit late. I was traveling. I made it back for New Year's Eve. So unfortunately, because of the delayed Christmas I had in travel, that I wasn't able to get on the show before our preview that we did normally do for the NFL with our picks. So that was unfortunate.
That's all right. I mean, you're licking your wounds a little bit from the Penn State bowl game, and
Oof.
that's okay. That's okay.
That was a tough one. Good for you, though, because we'll get into it after we round everything up. But that was a good play by you. But yeah, missed our NFL picks, and some could say maybe that was good. Some could say maybe that was bad. So it depends on how you look at it. But Tyson, we're going to jump in. So what we're going to do today, guys, we're going to go through a little bit of roundup on the week 17. Normally we highlight some big things that happened. We'll continue to do that in our roundup, but then we're going to move into the AFC playoff picture, give you some updates on that front, and then the NFC playoff picture, give you updates on that front, because we have teams who have clinched. We have teams who are sitting starters. All of that good stuff is at play and in play during week 18. So we're going to go through a bunch of different things. We're not going to necessarily touch on who's playing and who's all not immediately here, but we'll just give you an idea about what's going on. So let's get into the week 17 roundup right now. Tyson, anything that jumped out to you, anything that you want to start on here?
Well, we were talking before the show. We're both Eagles fans, so it was hard to watch anything else after Kyler Murray and Jonathan Gannon came back to beat the Eagles there. I mean, really, the show started this week on the Lions-Cowboys game. I think that's probably an appropriate place to start. It's been hashed out quite a bit by everybody else. So we'll be brief. But, Brad, what the hell?
This is where we talk about referees. They need to have repercussions for their actions.
Wait, I started the show by saying we're both Eagles fans, and then we go into a Cowboys cheating thing. I think that's pretty hilarious.
Well, the thing is, it's not like the Cowboys cheated, right? Like everybody's like, "Oh, it's rigged for the Cowboys."
Yes.
No, it's just that Brad Allen, the head referee, is an idiot. Like, just the dude made a mistake. And the problem is when players make mistakes and when coaches make mistakes, they get fined and suspended by the NFL. There is no repercussions for this. This is a game, Tyson. This is a season-changing missed call. I mean, because now you have the Cowboys who are going to play the horrible Commanders who are going to win the division. The Eagles, yes, they lost to the Cardinals. They're screwed. The Lions should be the 2 seed right now. They're screwed. This is a season-changing play. And because some idiot decided to rush, the one time they want to rush in the NFL, actually, because they love getting commercials in, they've changed and altered multiple seasons, and this guy's on a primetime game the next week.
I didn't know that was going to get you that worked up, but that was a fantastic way for us to start the show. That was awesome. Didn't they get demoted, though? They're not doing a playoff game? Did I see that?
Probably. So I guess that does take some money out of your pocket, but my God. What a joke.
Yeah, that was a huge bummer. It also, on the gambling angle, like it's going to hurt your Dan Campbell Coach of the Year tickets. So all that stuff wasn't great. At the end of the day, man, that was a really good football team against two very good, or football game against two very good football teams. But it feels like a Cowboys curse almost, where even when they win these games, the story isn't about how they did enough to win the football game. It's about something else almost every time. But that was pretty egregious. What do you think about going for it on fourth for the 2-point conversion instead of kicking the extra point?
I thought when they got pushed back to the 7, that's when they should have kicked the extra point. When it got moved up again, so I think at that point Dan Campbell's like, you know what, I'm gonna see if I can stick it to you guys and go for it, continue to go for it, and see if we can steal a win. Because at this point, that's kind of all we got here. So I would have kicked it, to be completely honest, if I'm in charge there. And I think Dan Campbell probably let the emotions get the best of him. But I can understand why he went for it.
His emotions got in the way to the point where he forgot they have Sam Laporta and Amon-Ra St. Brown, and that was really my main takeaway from those 3 plays in a row.
Yeah, and Tyson, you touched on it a little bit with the Eagles. We've been talking about it for a few weeks now, and if you haven't listened to our Filthy podcast, which it's based on the Philadelphia Eagles, I, for the once in my life, was actually positive about the Eagles when everybody else was jumping ship, and I'm normally the negative one. When everybody else is all smelling roses, I'm the one who is negative person, and it's the opposite normally for you. I look like an idiot. Like I got my foot in my mouth in this one because every single person that's in that stadium, when they were up 21-6 at halftime, nobody felt safe because they know how bad this defense is. And the same thing that happened to the Eagles against the Giants in the third quarter happened again. It's just, at this point, the Eagles are done. They're going to lose in the first round. They completely cost themselves the division in a complete joke of a way. And it was something that you're like, man, worst thing could happen is if they lose to the Cardinals, right? And it's like, yeah, they did it now. It's just, it's a complete horrendous operation that's been happening for the remainder of this part of the season.
I know it's been insane to me that you've been telling me this team stunk since like week 7, and then the last time we talk about the Birds, you're super high, and I'm the one jumping overboard. Yeah, I mean, a couple things. One, I think from the Arizona Cardinals perspective, that's a massive win. That was a major green flag for Jonathan Gannon there going forward as your head coach of your football team. And it kind of makes you wonder what the record of that team would be with Kyler Murray all year, right? Because we're sitting here now, 4 wins. Not that they would have made the playoffs, but they would have been competitive in a lot more games. And I think, it's hard to be where they're at in the draft and not think about a quarterback with the multiple first-round picks, and they're going to be picking fairly high. But Gannon came out and said Kyler Murray's going to be the guy next year, and I think he's shown, why people love him so much. We're not the biggest fans of Kyler Murray, but there are times where we're texting each other back and forth, and it's like, man, I hate this dude, but that was pretty sick. Yeah,
he made some insane plays. Just running around. His ability to avoid pressure and avoid tackles in the backfield, no matter how small he is. He's a little gnat running around. You just can't catch him. You're just always looking around for him. He's impressive when he is able to have things right. And I do think Tyson, maybe what happened last year, not the torn ACL, obviously, but just the way everything went down in terms of getting called out for leadership, maybe that helps him, going forward. Maybe he's like, you know what? If I do want to play in this league, I got to change my attitude. And so maybe a fresh start with getting Jonathan Gannon in there, it actually helps Kyler Murray going further. And going in the future, Tyson, if they add Marvin Harrison Jr.,
right,
and if they because Trey McBride's a real dude now, and if they add another guy late in the round, if they can find somebody who's a wide receiver, pretty good offense going forward, I think.
Yeah, a lot of pieces on defense are going to have to change. I mean, that's the weirdest tanking roster I've ever seen. Some of these dudes are just old. They're not even really getting looks for the young guys. So we'll see where they go at the top of the draft. But with the pick they obviously get trading with the Texans last year, that'll be helpful. But that's enough rehashing of whatever the hell the Philadelphia Eagles did in the second half.
Tyson, I was kind of surprised by this one. We've been talking about the Buccaneers and maybe the Rose Bloom was going to fall off eventually, but holy smokes, you want to talk about a no-show until it mattered. Maybe it was too good to be true, right? Everybody's talking about, Baker Mayfield, this is when he thrives. And, look how he just found a perfect spot for him. And it's all good. Remember, he's so talented. He went number 1. And then we saw what made him like, oh, God, yeah, this guy stinks. He's on his 4th different team now. That's what I took from that game. I didn't think that it was the Saints who did anything that blew me away. In fact, Tyson, I was disappointed in the second half like I always am because at 17 points, there should be an easy victory, and they can't get anything going in the second half. Both these teams, the fact that they're competing for the playoffs, it just is one of those divisions where you can't believe that one of these teams is going to get in.
It's absurd. And if you are a Baker Mayfield defender and you come at us with the 300 plus passing yards and a couple touchdowns, they didn't score until the fourth quarter. They put up 13 in the fourth quarter, which, if you look at the final score, you might think competitive, right? The Saints pull away late or something like that. It was watching – it felt like watching the Bucs take their last breath almost. It was like they're not good enough to take this division from the Saints. We were wrong. I kind of agree. I don't think I learned anything new about the New Orleans Saints in this game. I don't think I learned anything new about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We were just kind of looking with rose-colored glasses because somebody had to win this division.
Right. And
with the way Week 18 is setting up and the way the Atlanta Falcons are playing, it kind of feels like the New Orleans Saints at least they're not only in the driver's seat, they got pole position, and they just pulled a lap ahead of everybody else.
Well, if the Bucs win, based on what I'm reading here, if the Bucs just beat the Falcons, they're in.
They broke them. That's what I'm trying to say. I guess is that it kind of felt like that was Tampa Bay being they packed it in almost. Like once halfway through the second quarter, it was like, oh, this team sucks.
Man, yeah. So if Tampa Bay, they'll clinch the NFC South with just a win. So they play the Panthers. You'd expect them to do that. The Panthers are an operational joke. By the way, David Tepper dumping a drink on a fan. This guy continues to look more and more like a clown. I think we're justified in saying that. We were kind of early on this when he started firing coaches. We're like, man, this guy, I don't know. And here we go. It looks like we're proven right again.
Well, I mean, proven right about bad things isn't always awesome, but sometimes we do like to victory lap. Brad, another game that we do have to get into, because I don't really. Do you want to talk about the Panthers losing 28-0? Because it's not
No,
jumping off the screen to me. But
no.
do the Bears maybe have an actual decision to make with Justin Fields?
They're going to make the wrong one. They're going to hold on the
Yes.
fields, and everybody's going to point to it. Like we've been saying this, it's awesome right now, right? Like, woo, yeah, the Bears, they're figuring some things out, and you can talk yourself into adding more weapons. Tyson, 268 yards and a touchdown. Yes, the mistakes were limited. The EPA per play, it's the fourth worst in the NFL. Like every time this guy does something, he's not adding expected points to this Bears offense. The running game is good. Now, maybe Fields probably has something to do with it. I'm not going to take away there because he has a threat and it does play 11-on-11 football. But when you need to pass the ball, yes, DJ Moore's been having a great second half of the season. I'm not a buyer. I'm not a believer. I think there's 3 prospects in this class I'd rather have over Fields. I think passing on back-to-back quarterbacks would be insane, especially looking at the track record of Justin Fields. But Tyson, they're going to talk themselves into Fields. They're going to make the mistake, and it's going to be hilarious when they have to pay this guy because it's 3 years into this thing now, and they're coming up on when the bill's going to be due. I can't believe we're here, but that's just Chicago Bears football.
Here's my thing. Is every Bears fan that I know or everything that I've read, everybody wants Getsy fired as the offensive coordinator. But if you're going to fire the offensive coordinator, wouldn't you want to bring in a new quarterback? And if you're going to bring in a new quarterback, wouldn't you want to bring in a new head coach too? It's like Eberflus might have saved his job with the Montez Sweat trade and the way this defense has kind of turned things around and is looking right now. But when you start running through just like you're going to pass on the number 1 overall pick twice, which would be unprecedented. And then you're going to potentially try to shoehorn an offensive coordinator or have an offensive coordinator kind of shoehorn Justin Fields into his scheme and these offensive pieces. To me, it like, man, all he's done is put good stuff on tape to raise the value in the offseason. Like
Exactly.
You don't want to be trading down to 9 again and just kind of hoping, that Malik Neighbors is sitting around when you're picking or something like that. It would be whatever the right decision is. I'm not confident this organization is going to make it. But dude, if they keep Justin Fields, it's a bad day.
Try to fleece the Falcons because they're desperate. They're going to have a new offensive coordinator and a head coach probably too. Because I don't think Artie Smith is surviving what the hell he's been doing this season. But yeah, I think that'll be interesting. We're going to have a ton of stuff to talk about with the Bears. They're going to be leading the charge. They're going to have the first overall pick because the Panthers officially lost to select the number 1, but they traded away that pick. We got a bunch of offseason stuff coming with that. But Tyson, I want to hit on a couple things here. The Ravens just smoked the Dolphins. This wasn't close, man. Lamar Jackson was brilliant, 321, 5 tuds. The Dolphins are banged up. Bradley Chubb leaves the game. I think I'm nervous about the Dolphins when they get into the playoffs. They're running on fumes. They are running on fumes. Unfortunately, Tyreek Hill, his house had a fire in Miami. That's like super unfortunate and scary for him and his family. What's his mindset going to be now? That's just life things that pop up. And it just feels like the Dolphins have been running into a bunch of these things the past few years. But the Ravens are a juggernaut. And, we watched what the 49ers did coming off this game. Really? 13-10 at the Commanders at half? Like the Commanders were pushing and pushing. Tyson, they didn't have to come back. They stayed in the East Coast. I was a little bit surprised by that effort from the Commanders. Now, I know they won 27-10, and they eventually snuffed out anything that the Commanders' offense could do. But Christian McCaffrey, hurt calf. I'm curious to see. I guess I'm more interested to see how dominant the Ravens looked again against a better opponent, and then the 49ers come off against a weaker opponent, and they look that way. That was eye-opening to me.
Well, it was the first thing. If Lamar Jackson played the Miami Dolphins every week, his bus would already be made in camp. They wouldn't be waiting around. This dude shreds Miami. I don't know what it is. And we've talked about it all year long. Fangio's defenses famously, everyone knows it's not a year 1 thing. It's not an immediate fix. But that was brutal. That was tough. I mean, you got Isaiah Likely hitting SportsCenter top 10 plays on you. And we're big Likely fans. It's just that's not a good look for a Super Bowl hopeful. I'm not saying the Dolphins are DOA when the playoffs start, but I don't think I didn't have like before it was like, okay, maybe they can just outscore everybody. But it's like if that's how they look against that aggressive Ravens defense, because it's the same way they beat the 49ers, essentially. It's
Mm-hmm.
like, let's just get physical. We're going to come downhill, knock you off your spot, disrupt the timing, and good luck. And it kind of feels like the league, the perception has shifted a bit to where 3 weeks ago it was, this is the 49ers, Super Bowl to lose. And now I think people would be a bit shocked if the Ravens weren't representing the AFC. And by the way, Lamar Jackson's going to win his second MVP award. And I joked about the Hall of Fame bust thing, but how many two-time MVPs aren't in the Hall?
Yeah, and he's going to put up insane stats, throwing and rushing. It's going to be just an insane number by the time he's done. Remember, Tyson, the Falcons, they couldn't wait to tell people they weren't interested in him. Arthur Smith, no, he had Ritter. Come on. I think that's going to get him canned as well. But a couple things I want to get into.
Shit on Arthur Smith moment.
I mean, it's just, dude, the guy, he acts like he's Dick, whatchamacallit, Vince Lombardi, and the guy doesn't know anything. Well, I shouldn't say that, but just the way he acted and what he put on the field, it just rubbed me the wrong way. But I want to close with this before we get into the playoff picture, because I'm curious your thoughts. What do you think about the Chiefs? Like, yes, they won. Yes, they won the AFC West, and it's awesome. Look how many times they did again. Was that impressive at all? Harrison Butker, 6 field goals, couldn't do anything in the red zone. 25-17 over the Bengals. They needed a miracle and basically a steel curtain type of performance from their defense to even stop Jake Browning. What's going on here?
I don't know. We've been trying to figure this out for a minute. It's a combination of things, but at the end of the day, like, we can talk about how they don't have a one all we want for wide receivers. Rasheed Rice is going to put up 90 catches. He's going to hit 1,000 yards. He's going to have 9 touchdowns. And it's sacrilegious to say sometimes Andy Reid makes mistakes, but it does feel like it took a long time to get this guy on the field. Like, it was 30% snap share, and then it was 40% snap share, and it was like, okay, that guy's clearly better than Kadarius Toney. Can we get him more touches? But uninspired, maybe, to start games. It feels a bit like there's not like a game plan issue, but almost like they're not ready to roll immediately off the bus, where in years past it kind of felt like if the Chiefs scored first, you lost the game. And now it's like, oh, just chill. We got 4 quarters, and it doesn't necessarily feel like they're invincible, that they're going to come back and score a touchdown on you. I mean, it's a tough look to be kicking this many field goals in this game when the offense has been sputtering the way that it has. But it's Big Lou. It's Cincinnati. It's an opponent that knows them really well. But Brad, again, they're not DOA in the playoffs either, as long as they have 15. But it's starting to feel like they might be the matchup that you want as a wild card team, rather than we got to avoid the Chiefs at all costs.
Yeah, I think so too. And so, all right, anything else you want to end on before we get into the AFC playoff picture here?
Take one quick look through. Well, your Rams. That was a wild.
Oh, that was a strange game.
That was a wild game. So talk about. I mean, Jordan Love's on fire. That Packers offense is still rolling. The defense stinks, but that Packers offense is on fire. Bills win. It's setting up a. I mean, we'll get into it later this week, but Bills Dolphins is one of the biggest games that I can remember for a couple of reasons.
Yeah, and so let's get into it then. Updated AFC playoff picture. So here's who's clinched. The Ravens are officially the 1 seed. Dolphins right now, they're going to be the 2 seed, I believe, unless they lose, right? So the Browns, they can get that seeding. I'm trying to find it here. Of course, I can't.
I don't think they can. Browns can't get 2.
They're locked in. That's right. Because the Ravens are 1. That's right. Divisional win. So they're locked into the 5 seed. So here's who's clinched: Ravens, Dolphins, Chiefs, and Browns. So 4 teams. Now there's 3 still up for grabs because the Jaguars can get the 4 seed, the Colts can get the 4 seed, the Texans can get the 4 seed. So they're all in the hunt there, because they all got the Jags. The only reason why they're up right now is because they have the tiebreaker. Like, if they win, they're going to be the 4 seed. The Bills, they're going to be in the 6 seed if they can. They'll be in the playoffs unless they lose. Like, we got a ton of stuff going on here. I'm trying to find something that's clear and concise, but I don't think one exists.
The AFC is wildly confusing right now. Basically, the way I've been thinking about it is one of the Colts and Texans is automatically eliminated from that 4 seed spot because they're playing each other, and then the Jaguars are going to be playing probably Ryan Tannehill. Do we know who's starting at quarterback in Tennessee?
They don't know yet. Yeah.
Okay. But again, that's a game that they should probably win. So we're not penciling in Jacksonville by any means, because they've shown us that that's one of the dumbest things we could do. We were out here giving out, take them now, take them again.
I
Like the
know.
number's lower than it was preseason.
Ugh.
And that was wrong. I mean, it might be right, but it felt better at the time. But the rest of the AFC, dude, it's like the Bills can miss the playoffs if things go sideways somehow. And that doesn't compute in my brain.
Yeah, and they can also win the division if they beat Miami
Right.
this weekend. So that's a
Yeah.
huge game there. If the Pittsburgh Steelers can be in the playoffs, they need a lot to happen. But if they win, Buffalo loses. If they win, the Jags lose or tie. They win, Houston and Indy tie. Like they got a bunch of different scenarios. But the Pittsburgh Steelers could be in. Houston can win the division. The Indianapolis Colts can win the division. I think both those teams, one of those two teams, will probably get in. Two teams from the AFC South are probably going to get in unless a miracle happens for the Steelers, which probably isn't going to happen. So I think how it's going to look right now, the winner of the Dolphins and the Bills are going to win that division. One's going to be the 4 seed or the 2 seed. If the Dolphins win, they're going to be the 2 seed. If the Bills win, they're going to be the 4 seed. Unless the Chiefs lose. So we got a bunch of different scenarios here. But Jags win, they're in 4 seed. If they lose, it opens up the door for the Colts, who plays the Texans. If they win, if the Texans beat the Colts, they'll be the 4 seed if the Jags lose. So basically, Jags can control their destiny here to win the division. Colts, winner of Colts Texans, they have a chance if the Jags lose, but winner of that probably is in the playoffs. Because it'll be the Bills and the Browns already locked in that other wild card spot. So that's basically how it rounds up. Again, like Tyson said, the AFC is crazy. Like there's a bunch of different scenarios that can happen here. I mean, so as it's standing right now, before we know Baltimore, I'm looking at the matchups here, Tyson. This is so interesting. So if it's right now started, it'd be Dolphins at the 2 seed versus the Colts in the 7. Chiefs
take the
hosting the Bills. Which would be game would be awesome. And then you have the Browns at the Jags. Is anybody confident in the Jags in that one? I mean, my goodness, with what they've shown, how can you not love the Ravens? It's sitting back in a bye. The Bills could take out the Chiefs if everything goes right, based on what we've seen from the Chiefs. I mean, my God, the Colts and Dolphins, based on what we're seeing from the Dolphins now, Colts could just outscore them. And then the Browns, I mean, I think they go into Jacksonville and smoke them.
Well, that's the thing. I think that the only team in the AFC that I could, I'm giving greater than we'll call it a 40% shot in a straight up game against the Ravens would be the Browns. And it's the defense and Joe Flacco and all this stuff, but it's also like the way Ravens look in divisional games. Every single time we have to watch this, it's like, that's not the same team that shows up and plays Miami. That's not the same team that shows up and beats up San Francisco. And a lot of it is familiarity and things like that. But I'm looking at the AFC right now, Brad, and I'm thinking it's an AFC North or bust.
That's kind of how I'm viewing it too, man. Joe Flacco's played so well. It's hard for me not to trust that defense and what that offense has been able to put out. They finally have a quarterback who's running their offense, who's finding receivers, and you're like, holy smokes, this is what this baby could look like. My God, I'm telling you, I'm agreeing with you. It's Ravens or Browns for me right now if I'm looking at things.
Then that's not where we thought. I mean, we were on the Ravens. We both were giving out Ravens. Preseason Super Bowl, I don't remember what the odds are. I have to go check my wallet. But we did not think the Cleveland Browns are going to be here. And it's pretty cool. And also congratulations to the Jacksonville Jaguars on winning the AFC, because Brad and I just cursed just about everybody else running through this thing.
All right, let's get into the NFC playoff picture before we get out of here. I'll try to make much more sense of this. This one's easier because we already have 5 teams who are locked in and others who are fighting for 2 playoff spots. So 49ers are the number 1 overall seed. That's locked in. We know that. They're going to rest starters against the Rams. Also, Ravens on their side. They're locked in. Steelers, Ravens are resting starters. So we got a bunch of different teams we'll close on at the end here. But Cowboys, if they win their game against the Commanders, they're going to win the division, and they're going to be the 2 seed, probably based over their tiebreaker with the Lions now. Thanks, Brad Allen. The Lions, they're either going to be the 3 seed or the 2 seed. They have something to play for based on their result against the Vikings and based on the Cowboys' results against the Commanders. 4 seed. So that's going to come down to the Bucks or the Saints. So now the Bucks, if they win, they beat Carolina, they're going to win the division. They're the 4 seed. The Saints, they need a loss from the Bucks and they need to beat the Falcons. Falcons need a whole bunch of miracles to get in there.
Dead.
Probably not going to happen. All right, let's just be honest here. Vikings, similarly, I think that's going to be tough. But the Packers, they got a real shot to make the wild card here. Now they're slotted at 7th. Seahawks, they're similar, but as it stands right now, the Rams are in. They've already clinched, and there's 2 teams fighting for it: the Bucs on the division winner, and then somebody for that last wild card spot.
Yeah, and I think this is obviously the biggest game of Jordan Love's career. That's really what I'm looking forward to here when I look at the NFC playoff picture. But this one shook out pretty close to how it's looked essentially all season. Like, you can shuffle the names, but we knew in week 4, right, the Niners were really good. The NFC East was a 2-horse race. The Lions were going to win the North, and we all year long we have had no idea in hell what is going on in the NFC South, and none of that's changed. Brad, for a while this season in the NFC, I was like, there's some sneaky wild card teams that I don't know if people are going to want to see. And then the Eagles exploded. And maybe the Packers offense is scary right now, but I don't know who's afraid truly of playing that defense.
Right. That's the thing, dude. Their defense is horrendous. And yeah, they shut down the Vikings, but Jaron Hall and Nick Mullins, yeah, you're right. That's Jalen Hurts, that's Matt Stafford, that's Dak. Like, no, that's not what's going to happen when they play those teams. So you said it. Green Bay, if they win, they're in the playoffs. And considering of what the roller coaster of perception on whatever you said about the Packers, oh, Jordan Love looks good. No, he can't play. Oh, maybe they're scary. Oh, I can't believe they lost. Oh my God, look what they're doing now. It's just hilarious that this is where we're at with one game to go. Tampa Bay, again, you said it with Jordan Love. This is Baker Mayfield. This is a must-win game, obviously. Get into the playoffs, but the perception, if you lose to the Carolina Panthers, what are we talking about here? That would be just an absolute disaster for them. And then so Seattle also needs, for them to get in, they need to win their football game against the Cardinals, and they need Green Bay to either lose or tie. So that's the only way they get in. So again, Seattle had some self-inflicted wounds. They're probably going to miss the playoffs because of a couple blunders. It's up to Green Bay. They control their destiny. Seattle needs help. Atlanta needs help. New Orleans needs help. I'm curious to see how these games play out this week. And I will say, I think the NFC side is much more interesting than the AFC side, Tyson, because we kind of know who's already in, just based on that kind of jostling. But here it's like, you got teams who haven't really done it before, or at least proven it. I'm gonna be keeping my eye on these games for sure.
Well, we got a lot of young guys on the rosters with a lot of coaches that everybody loves. So it's like trying to find out who was right and who was wrong on some of these guys. But the playoff picture is essentially set. We'll be back next week to talk about the playoffs, hopefully in a less confusing manner, because I still like the Bills still get the 2 seed, and I don't understand how.
I know. I'm trying to find something.
It's every year.
I know it's insane.
We're too dumb we need to read the concise, clear version of how all the things can play out, and we're still going to get confused. So just be gentle with us in the comments.
So this out would match up right now if everything stays the same. Niners get the first round bye, like we said. Cowboys would have the 2 seed and face the Packers. Lions would have the 3 seed and host the Rams, and then the Eagles would go into Tampa in the 4-5 matchup. I got to say, based on what I'm looking at here, I think the Rams could beat the Lions. I think they could throw all over them. That might be a barn burner. And I have no faith in what the Eagles can do right now, but because Baker could throw. I mean, Mike Evans and Chris Godwin might just eat. That's the problem here. And then I think you would assume that the Cowboys at home are just going to eviscerate that Packers defense, right? Like, there could be some upsets with the Rams, and everything else might just be chalky. I'm not sure. What do you think so far based on those matchups?
Well, similar to the Baltimore Ravens, when I'm looking at the NFC side of the playoff bracket, it kind of feels like whoever wins these games, San Francisco is just going to get a test that they already aced, right? It wasn't like, we barely passed it. This is because it's so hard to beat a good team twice in the NFL, because it is. But when you beat them 42-10, or you beat somebody by 40 points earlier in the season, or I don't know what they're getting on film to really gear up and beat you in the rematch. It kind of feels like. Again, this is, to me, it's been Baltimore and San Francisco for a minute, but the way these fields are kind of shaping up, it certainly almost feels inevitable, which means it won't happen, but I don't think I'm alone in that.
Yeah, and Tyson, to close out here, so we got some QBs sitting I want to run through. Tyler Huntley's going to take the snaps for the Baltimore Ravens. Jeff Driscoll, here you go. He's going to start for the Browns. How about that? So no PJ Walker or anybody. There's going to be a lot of guys sitting for the Browns. They don't have really anything to play for. Nick Mullins is going to start for the Vikings. Now, Jared Goff is probably going to start for the Lions because they do have something to play for, but don't be shocked if Teddy Bridgewater, who's ready to retire after this one,
I know,
if he comes in. Like you said, the Jags Titans, there's a ton on the line here. We have no clue if Lawrence is even going to start for the Jags. Could be CJ Beathard, and it's probably going to be Ryan Tannehill for the Titans. So yeah, important game. We have no clue what's going on there. So how about that? Everybody else, Tampa's going to go with Baker. They need to win, clearly. Jordan Love, they have to win. They're going to go with him for the Packers. The Eagles is what I'm interested. Hurts is going to start, Tyson, but they may bench some of their starters.
Scoreboard watching, because if they look up at that screen and Dallas is up 25 points on the Washington Commanders and all the starters are hitting the bench. But if it's close, then you imagine these guys are going to play. So basically just bet accordingly, because I think there's going to be a lot of scoreboard watching, and there's going to be a lot of, he's starting the game, but the chances that he finishes are pretty low.
Blaine Gabbert is going to be the starter for the Chiefs. Carson Wentz is going to be starting for the Rams. He'll be taking on Sam Darnold, who's starting for the Niners. And that is pretty much everything of note. And because like Tyson said, there's going to be a lot of scoreboard watching, but other teams who have something to play for. So just getting you out there, if you're looking at lines moving, you're like, what? This line's crazy. It's because there's some people sitting. So make sure you do your due diligence. I did want to get that out there, Tyson, because I haven't played anything yet. I'm not going to lie. Normally I like to jump into these lines early, see if we can get some CLV. I haven't done that for this week. So if something pops up before we get to our pick show, our final one of the regular season, where can they find those?
It'll be in the Chalkboard app. It's in the App Store, Google Play, wherever you download your apps. The group name is ISWIS presents the Roundtable Bets. Type that right in. It's free. We're playing everything you can think of. We just had a pretty monster bowl week here on the show here. So tune into our college football preview episode, college football national championship preview, which is pretty cool that we're finally there. Because if you've been following that, if you were in the chalkboard, you had a chance to fade us all college football season long, and you're rich.
Yeah, and then for the people who tried to fade us for the last time, maybe we got some of that money back. Not quite sure, but like Tyson said, we're still playing stuff. We got basketball season upcoming as well. So make sure you stay connected with us and like, subscribe, and share the show if you haven't already. If you're watching on YouTube, smash that like button on the way out. If you're listening in podcast form, rate, review, and subscribe if you haven't already. 5-star review preferably. If you hate us, give us a 5-star, then tell us how much you hate us in the comments, because it does help us out anytime that we can get reviewed or have comments. It helps us become more discoverable, and it goes a long way. And if you want to stay connected with us, follow us on our socials on X, Instagram, and TikTok. The handle is at ISWIS_pod. Tyson is right. We're going to be back previewing the national championship in college football. I can't wait for this one. It's going to be awesome. We'll talk to y'all then, guys. Peace.